With the Shark Shootout Extreme Access, we are giving the participants, people from all walks of life who have minimal scuba experience, some that have basically no photographic experience, and we're putting them in a situation that we put the Hollywood top underwater cameraman. And we set up these same type of shots that these participants are partaking in for the James Bond thrillers, for Jaws, Cocoon, Into the Blue, Open Water.
It's not a vicarious experience with sharks. We're there amongst them, getting bumped, not getting bit, but getting the shot. Everybody's shooting with extreme wide angle lens, 180 degree, probably from 110 to 180 degree is the average width of the lens that they're shooting. And they're filling the frame with sharks. You don't do that unless you've got sharks that are going to come within a foot of your dome. And that's what we do.
Down in the beautiful Bahamas, a group of photographers will get extreme access with the Caribbean reef shark.
The Caribbean reef shark is a very common reef-dwelling species of shark. They reach a maximum length of 9 feet long, and they inhabit shallower reefs, typically from 20 feet to 60 feet deep, but also to the sloping drop-off. The range of the Caribbean reef shark is from North Carolina to southern Brazil, but they're far more common in the Caribbean Sea and Gulf of Mexico.
Okay guys, we're just gonna we're out here, tongue of the ocean right out here. We've traveled maybe 30 miles south from the southwest end of the island, and the reason we're gonna go here, because it's slick calm today and we know we're gonna get it when the weather's right. We've got 3 or 4 places that we can feed sharks on New Providence, places that the Stewart Cove organization has developed for shark feeding. But here it's very special because it's more of our wilderness location.
All right, guys, you know that the shark here is a little bit aggressive, so please be careful. This time shark get this distance, it's very, very close. Okay, this distance shark doesn't use the eye to catch the prey. Shark just follow the movement.
When considering the aggression of this shark, we have to keep in mind that there's only been 26 documented attacks in the International Shark Attack files from the year 1580 with the Caribbean reef shark. This shark has a very low number of attacks. Of the 26, most of them have been in provoked activities, meaning there's been spearfishing or feeding going on in a case of mistaken identity.
The divers are in and ready to get their picture-perfect shot.
Normally shark diving is a very safe activity, but we're upping the ante a bit and making it a bit more extreme. We're putting bait near bodies, we're putting bait right in front of camera lenses, we're letting people essentially sit right on top of the chum basket to maximize their up-close and personal photographs of bite shots, gills, eyeballs, everything, you name it. But the photographers are armed with chainmail suits for their protection. This is something we don't recommend for your average underwater photographer or your recreational diver.
It's like being underwater and watching the lions and tigers tear up some kind of wildebeest in the Sahara. It's an underwater kind of adventure like that. And you're not feet away, you're within inches of jaws, teeth, blood.
People often wonder if the sharks at feeding dives are domestic animals. In fact, they're not. We consider them conditioned. We also know that they're still wild animals. You have to respect them. They have a large size and they're armed with very sharp teeth. We can never forget that these are always going to be wild animals.
The Extreme Shark Shootout is not just about taking snapshots of the sharks, but to understand the nature of the beasts by conducting a series of behavioral studies.
We know that it is pretty much a given fact that sharks are going to go for white, silvery, yellow colors.
I drew the short straw.
Yes, you did.
I get to wear the white one.
So we've also got a matching wetsuit for you. It's bright yellow to test the yum yum yellow theory.
What's the darndest thing? I take the, the pole spear that we feed them, and then nothing on it, and I just put it up like this, and they would attack it.
Yeah, they definitely went for it really fast.
And to up the ante, we put fish bait in Stuart's helmet.
My helmet, which I put a big piece of fish inside, and they wouldn't have anything to do with it.
They're trained to feed off the pole and obviously the magnetic field that the metal in the salt water is giving off.
And they're not used to biting people's heads. Even with the white helmet, fish hanging out of it, they weren't biting the head.
We learn that reef sharks recognize their food, and even with the temptation of bait attached to Stuart, he is not the main course on their preferred menu. After a few dives, the photographers noticed the sharks were taking a special interest in their equipment, especially Craig's white flash strobes. For the next dive, Andy and Craig will attempt to learn if the sharks are attracted to the color of the strobe or the signals the strobe emits.
So most strobes actually give off an audible signal as they're recharging. That may be it, but it may be a combination of the electronic cue as well as the coloration.
Here's a few of the bite marks in the gray part. I covered a couple of them up with the gaffer's tape already.
The divers also noticed that their equipment was receiving special attention when the strobes fired.
Some of the whiter colored strobes seem to have a lot more reaction, and I think the audible pop or the electrical pop when the strobe fired did have some reaction.
When the shark would turn, as you say, and turn his head and come back after my strobe had fired, do you think that it appeared to be the recycle sound that was drawing him back around? Because at that point it sounds like he would have no visual contact if he had already passed by the strobe, but if something was still catching his attention and would turn him around, I would say that would have to be the audible sound from the strobe recycling.
I definitely agree, Dino. The way the shark was positioned, when the flash went off, its eyes were hidden from the visual flash of your strobe, but it definitely keyed into either the electrical current or the sound of it. And one of the things we've talked a lot about is the sound that these strobes give off, but I'm sure they give off a slight electric charge when that goes off, and the sharks all have these gel-filled pores called ampullae, and they pick up electric current. And it's very possible the strobes are giving off a slight electric current as well.
When they come up for the piece of fish, the guys that miss it are definitely beelining, and their next point of interest is the front of these strobes.
Next, we wanted to see if there's a contrast in feeding behavior at the ocean surface versus the ocean floor.
You all right? Yeah, I just got punched in the face by a shark.
So obviously, as you can see, the sharks up here at the surface act very differently. There's a different pecking order, there's a different order in which they attack the bait, and a different direction in which they attack the bait. So that's why we have Dino in the chainmail suit. That's why I'm wearing a chainmail glove, so I can fend the sharks off to the right. And that's why we take extra precautions when doing it this way.
Fascinating, man. I love the difference in their behavior at the surface versus down at the bottom,
Yeah, you can definitely tell up at the surface it's a lot less structured environment.
Oh,
Seems
yeah.
like the hierarchy totally changes.
Their whole body posture changes. You can just see the shape of their body, the position they're in. They're just much more agile and in tune with what's going on. And, coming from a photographer's point of view, I really prefer the surface work. Their behavior is different. They come at you more. They're less evasive, and it gives me a more interesting perspective in the photography.
Right.
Because it involves the viewer more, and I like the change in their behavior. If I given my preference, I prefer shooting at the top.
Normally, a diver will put on just one layer of chainmail, but in this situation, Toro will don multiple layers of protection because today, these sharks are extremely aggressive.
I have a lot of respect for Toru. He's the bravest man I've ever met.
There's some good action down there. I think I got some great shots.
those things were trying to eat Toro that time.
Then I looked up and I saw Toro being dragged by a shark right past me. Look!
They did that to you?
Yeah.
It's very aggressive today.
I think I got a really good shot of Toro with his arm about that far into the shark's mouth. It was dragging him around.
Yeah, that's my part of the job.
All right, killer bite shot.
After a long day of diving, it's time to head back to shore. Everyone gathers in the classroom to discuss their work from the day.
This image in Photoshop later, and the objective will be to increase the contrast a little bit. I want to be able to read the bite shot. That's a big, big part of what we're going to do this week.
Renowned underwater photographer Stephen Frink reviews and critiques the group's shark shots and offers pointers to the divers.
In 10 minutes in Photoshop, we're going to make that a world-class image.
The students don't know how lucky they are to be gaining insight from such a consummate professional as Stephen Frink.
We want close contact, we want those white bellies coming up towards us, and I want teeth.
You know, I don't know that you could say there is a typical day at the shark shoot.
Incredible. I'm from New York, and this beats swimming with the fishes when they tell you over there.
You really just don't know what you're jumping in for every day. I have a suspicion they're much like people, that depends on the mood and what's prompting them, how they're going to behave that day.
There must have been about 50 down there today. For whatever reason, they're very, very aggressive. One had my whole strobe completely in its mouth.
The shark shootout is the best opportunity for the photographer to get the really exciting photos. It's all right there.
When I told my mother I was coming here, she made me promise her I was coming back in one piece. And I'll be back home, Mom.